Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host, Mike. We have on today's panel Sarah and Neil. Don't know why Neil did it in capitals, but we will refer to him as Neil for the rest of the show. In this episode, we're going to be discussing a really, really disappointing, gutting loss. Not because we expected to win. I always expect to win, but we could have won. And we're going to look forward to the home match against Halifax. We love hearing from you. We love the engagement, like all the thumbs up, the shares, all the rest of it. So keep them coming. Boost the ego because my head is not big enough. It needs to be more. Neil, a few weeks since you've been on. How have you been?
I've been fine, thank you, Mike. Enjoying watching Sutton, but not enjoying the results.
This may be a theme throughout the rest of the conversation, but Sarah, how's yourself?
Yeah, I've been I'm very tired today. I didn't get enough sleep last night, and my brain hasn't been working all day, so I might just say some really stupid stuff and nothing very intelligent, but hey, might add to the entertainment.
That's my job. Can't be doing that.
We can job share. You've got one dunce cap between two. That's
yeah.
We'll pass it over when we speak.
Right. So I sent you both a question a couple of hours ago. I had to be prompted. Thank you, Neil. Knowing me, knowing you, you both asked the exact same question for clarification, which was funny. But in a second, I will ask you the question of if you could ask the club's management one question, what would it be and why? The question is open to interpretation. So if you could ask the club's management one question, what would it be and why?
Well, Jenny knows I'm going to ask this question is, why do we never leave one or two players up when we're defending a corner? Because that would then take two or three of the opposition out of our box, and then there would be a much better chance potentially of getting a goal on the break, because Jack's got such a good long kick and Dylan's pace, he could potentially get on the end of a clearance.
There was a reason. I can't remember that, but Steve did explain it in quite a bit of detail in that evening. But you know me, I kind of switched off about 5 minutes into it. But there was a reason, and it was like a new modern thing of it's easier for the attack, it's easier to reset for winning the throw-ons and whatnot as well. But there was a reason. It did come up in conversation. He did sort of suck his... I didn't go into explanation. So, but it was a reason. But yeah, go on, ask him. I dare you. Sarah, what was your question if you could ask the club's management one thing?
I didn't really get a chance to think about it, so I'm kind of going to wing it. But I think one question that I might want to ask is I'm going to choose to interpret management in a different way. Since Neil's gone with the management of the team, I'm going to go with the management of the club. Now, a lot of when we talk about Sutton, we're all kind of quite focused on what we love about our club is like this beautiful community ethos thing and how it's like a family and blah, blah, blah. And in recent years, we've obviously had to do a lot of things very differently as we've kind of moved up to the Football League, even though we've come back down again, a lot of things have had to stay as they have been there. It's a lot more business oriented, a lot more sort of professional and slick in a lot of ways, not so much in others. And a lot of people don't like that. I would because I don't understand why we have to do things differently, or because I just don't like it. And it does feel a little bit less family-like and a little bit more business-like sometimes. So my question would be, since I do understand that we do have to do things differently and why we have to do that. But my question is, just sort of going forward to looking to the future, how are we going to keep up that ethos? How are we going to keep the heart of our club beating? Because people come and go, that people, you're Sutton for life, aren't you? But unfortunately, we don't live forever. And I'm just thinking, I wonder what the club would say to that. I mean, I'll say the club as an entity, but I wonder what the chairman and then the board would say if they were asked that question. How do you future-proof the club's ethos? It's a difficult one. I don't know if they'll be able to answer that, but I'm sure they would have some very good things to say about that.
Yeah, no, you're right on both. It has to be more professional, but it could be more professional in not the same as everyone else. It could be a brand new way, more professional the Sutton way. So who knows? But yeah, it is a tricky one to keep it, because that's what's happened over the last few years, where you've got a core like 700-800 people, and then suddenly it's 3,000 people. There's no way to know everyone, and you do lose that little thing. And the whole thing about coming into the bar and all the rest of it, it's there's a lot we will miss because we've seen it, but the new fans won't miss because they've never known it. But yeah, that's a cracking one. Get your questions in. I'm not saying I'll get them asked, but get your questions in. What would you ask the board or the management, or whichever way you want to do it, the academy management, anyone, the ladies management, whichever you'd like. But we'll get those questions in. I have no idea how I get answers for them, but we'll try. Right, we're going to go on to the match. Sarah, we'll start with you. What was your expectations, and what did you think of the lineup?
Oh, well, my expectations are Forest Green are a good side. They're doing very well. They're looking to bounce back up. I would have been really incredibly chuffed with a win there. I would have been chuffed with a point there. And they're always a tough nut to crack, Forest Green. So I wasn't going and expecting it to be plain sailing. When I saw the lineup, I thought, oh, this is a bit different. What's going on here? So it wasn't what I expected. Although it does change from game to game, but it seemed to have changed more than usual. So basically, I just thought, well, okay, let's see what happens here then. Let's get in.
I'll tell you my very confident prediction in a moment when I saw the lineup. But Neil, what were your thoughts and expectations on the lineup?
So before I predicted a 1-0, narrow 1-0 win for us. Then when I saw the lineup, I wanted to change it to a 2-0 loss. But Jenny was talking to me so much that I forgot to change before the kickoff. So therefore, I was cursing her, particularly when we were 2-0 down. And I was thinking, basically, I'd blown 8 points on the prediction league. But I agree with Sarah. I thought the lineup was bonkers, playing no wingers. And I thought, basically, Steve hasn't got a Scooby-Doo. But subsequently explained because these two diamonds of 4, was it?
Well, this is what I said. I was like, okay, that's going to be the diamond formation. The sort of, I know Chelsea were doing great things with that a good few years ago. So I was sitting there and confidently said to someone, right, that's going to be Suji on the base. That's going to be Lewis and Finley in the centre, and it'll be Jack Bottom up top. I basically got Lewis right and all the others wrong. So that shows what I know. But yeah, I mean, Neil, right. This obviously I don't know anything about football, so we're going to start with that. Do we like the idea of we're chopping and changing what we do for what the opposition are doing, or should we just be saying, nah, this is what we do, cope with it? Are we not there yet?
I don't think we're quite. I don't think we're good enough, and we're not quite there yet to inflict or impose is the right word, isn't it? To impose our playing game on. So I think we have to compensate for where we lack by either adapting a special way to play the opposition or to come up with something that the opposition is not expecting and catch them by surprise, which I think is a little bit of what happened with Forest Green, because I think they were expecting us to play with, two out-and-out fast wingers.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Do you agree with Neil that we need to adapt, or do you think that we should be the big uns and say no?
I never agree with Neil, but I think actually, because the squad we've got, they are almost used to change now, and I think that's a strength that we've got actually in a way, because we will always come up with something that the opposition aren't expecting, and they'll never really know what to think. When we turn up at their gaff. So I don't know. I would like to see a little bit more consistency, if only because I think for some of the players it would help them to have that stability and know who they're playing next to from one week to the next. But I'm not the manager and I don't really have a clue. So I think I might leave it at that.
Yeah, no. I did start the conversation with, let's just remember, I know nothing. So let's talk about Will. He was captain, and he had a good performance, great goal. I think number 17. But it did seem that was the first time he'd had enough time to get the ball under control. That's not a criticism. There was just people around him all the time. And as soon as he got the ball and he had that couple of steps and let it fly, how did you feel about the goal, Sarah, and his performance in general?
I think you could probably pick out a few players who had a good game, and he's, I think he was a bit unlucky not to get another one actually. But I mean, no disrespect to Forest Green, they're a good side. They're, like I said, they're always going to be a tough nut to crack. Sorry, I'm so tired. I've completely forgotten what you asked me. I've probably asked that.
About Will's goal and
yeah. It was a great strike, wasn't it? It was a really good goal. I was like, wow. It was one of those goals that makes you go, oh, I wish I could hit a ball like that.
Yeah. I mean, he did in the interview afterwards, I don't know if you heard it, Neil, where he said, oh, it's a lot of work by the team and a lot of good supply, and then every now and then a bit of magic. I was like, oh, come on now, Will. But what did you think, Neil, of the goal and his performance overall?
I thought it was a good goal when I watched it live, but actually watching it back on the highlights, it was even further out than I thought. So it was an even better goal than I first thought. And even Steve Cottrell, who is a miserable bastard, he really is, their manager, said it was a good goal.
It was.
Yeah.
High praise.
And the only other thing he said about it, to put it into context is that Sutton aren't bad. I've watched them a few times and they're not bad. That was as much praise as we got out of them.
They were the only team that finished below us last season.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So my opinion of him went down another 10 notches. But yeah, so I think that was begrudging the fact that was actually an extremely good goal.
Yeah, it was.
We need that on a poster, just like Sutton United. Not bad. Steve Cottrell. It's like a movie review.
Maybe.
But Neil, Sarah mentioned there were quite a few players who had good games. Who stood out for you? Who did you think had a good day or surprised you?
Surprised me. I thought Henry did actually extremely well, considering that's his first start and first significant amount of cumulative minutes that he played. So I thought actually he surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
better than I thought. Didn't surprise me. Both the Jacks were absolutely superb. Jack Taylor basically marked all their superstars out the game, and he just wasn't fazed by anything. And Jack Sims made a couple of cracking saves.
Yeah.
Not for the first time this season.
No, neither for JT. Jack Taylor, I thought he had a great game, but I was really pleased, Sarah, to hear Steve pick it out as well, because he said afterwards, Jack absolutely masterful, as Neil just said. Who do you think stood out? I mean, you may have already had some of the names mentioned, but who else do you think stood out?
Yeah, I've had mine mentioned. I did think Eddie Rasmus had a good game. He has been improving, I think, over the last few weeks as well. He's kind of stuck out a little bit for me in a few games. I was definitely going to say Simo as well, because although I know obviously let in 2 goals, but that doesn't say anything about the number he saved, does it?
No.
He made some superb saves yesterday. And Mr. Simper, he had a few moments as well, didn't he?
He always does. For goalkeepers, I always remember years and years and years back when Newcastle were in their pomp under Kevin Keegan. They played West Ham and they won something like 7, 8, 9-0, something stupid. And he come off and he said, all young goalkeepers need to watch Les Sleedy in that match. That is the best goalkeeping display he's ever seen. Yes, he's letting all these goals, but we had something like 40 shots on target. So look at how many saves he made. Don't look at the score, look at the performance, which is a long time ago. What did you, I mean, it would be marvellous if we could just take 10, 15 minutes out of that game. Because I felt we were on top. I felt we looked more likely to score. And then they scored. And then they had a goal that we concede, but we never, ever seemed to score. How do you think we managed the game overall, Sarah? And how can we get this luck? I mean, what do we need to do to get all this luck that needs to go our way?
Oh, you know what, Mike? It's going to sound funny after the day after we lost, but I think we're getting there. I mean, I think we've got the monkey off our back in terms of I don't want to speak too soon, but in terms of we always seem to come out tired in the second half and we always seem to fade towards the end of the game. That seems to have been fixed. And it was just like you said, that 15 minutes. I mean, they scored. I think our heads dropped a bit when they scored. And I think we weren't really with it for a few minutes after that. And that's how they scored another one as well. Because, I mean, if you look at the whole game, they weren't a goal better than us over the course of the game, were they? I mean, I think, we had a cracking second half, and most of the first half as well, to be fair. We're saying on the way out of the ground, we actually felt all right. Not, we're gutted that we lost, but we just seen a good performance. And I was like, if the second half and the first half was swapped over, we'd be really annoyed, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Up, I had a really good half, and then we would have given away 2 goals when we were 1 up. And, we would have been really annoyed. And if it was the other way around, it would have been like a match from earlier in the season where that kept on happening. So I'm actually, even though we lost, I'm actually quite pleased we got it the other way around. And now we're trying to have a stronger second half.
Yeah, going to come back to that because I've got that as well. But Neil, what did you think overall on the game, and where can we get the luck from?
If I knew where we could get the luck from, I'd put in a bulk order on Amazon and get it delivered. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought it, ironically, it was, and then I think Steve said this in his post-match interview. I thought that was our best overall 90-minute performance. It was even out better than York, because we certainly dominated. They barely got into our half in the second half.
Yeah. Well, the thing I wanted to come back to was the late game fitness and intensity. And this is going to contradict what we probably said earlier about the team having a bit of consistency, because the team changes so much. Do we think that that's having an effect on the stamina for the players as we come into this part of the season? Neil, we'll start with you. I mean, what do you feel is the good point there, especially with the high pressing late in the game?
I think we're very good at managing the players. I think that a lot of the science, the fitness, they know when to take a play. They know when to take a player off, because potentially they're the stats are showing that they're flagging perhaps before we're aware of it, and perhaps even before the players are aware that they're dropping off. So I think the science is playing off. So there's a lot of data-driven decisions made off the field that we're unaware of. It was obvious that Steve was cross with Dylan. Perhaps Dylan had sort of not been transparent with the facts, and that he was carrying something or was feeling a twinge, because he wouldn't have risked him.
Yeah.
Because that was, he came on for 45 seconds and then he was off, and that's probably a hamstring.
Yeah, doesn't know what it is yet, by the way. Sarah, what about yourself? What do you think about the sort of squad management as opposed to the consistency that we were talking about?
I mean, I've been watching Sutton for nearly 30 years, so I can say it's not what we're used to, is it?
No.
Not what we're used to, and it's different, and it's much more unpredictable for us. It's harder for us to know what's going on behind the scenes than it ever was, because under previous management, it's been really easy to see this is what's happened and this is why. And like the decisions were very obvious, and sometimes a little bit too obvious and a bit too predictable. And we've now got a management team that, to us, who aren't privy to all that's going on behind the scenes, is very unpredictable. And I do think it does seem to be doing something. I think there's a lot of good stuff behind it. I just don't always understand what it is. So it's quite hard for me to answer that, because there's techie stuff that I just don't know enough about to really comment on.
That goes back to the thing that Neil said about leaving someone up at a corner. There was a nice explanation, but it got way, way, way too technical for me. I was like, hello, I'm only talking and ask stupid questions. So the lineup we obviously saw was a little bit different. The bench was very, very attack-minded. Do you think the idea was last 20, go for it, and then obviously Dylan slightly stuck with that, but what did you think about the plans or the substitutions, Sarah? Do you think it made a difference? Because it was 2-1 at the time and we did keep it, but we were pushing on for it.
I think the problem with Dylan kind of ruined the plan, really, didn't it? But yeah, I thought maybe, the whole very Sutton thing of conceding late goals and stuff, maybe it was like, let's try and score one instead. Save all these attack weapons until the end and then hit them with everything we've got. And that's maybe a better idea than kind of, let's just try and keep them out for the last 20 minutes. Because it doesn't work like that. Because that's what I was thinking. Yeah. I'm not sure it entirely worked out the way it was planned.
Yeah. What about yourself, Neil? Did you think that was the plan, or what did you think?
Yeah, I predicted hold them at 0-0, 70 minutes, go for it in the last 20.
Oh, you did, didn't you? I was there then.
Yeah, I said that before, and I put it on the WhatsApp group. You see, so yeah, but being 2-0 down sort of wasn't quite in the script.
It wasn't part of it. Especially that second goal. That was just a horrible goal.
Like, that was going to hit the corner flag, right?
I don't even know it bounced off or how it bounced off.
He was rubbing his belly like, oh, that hurt. It was like, damn it. We never get a belly shot. It'd be great if we could get a belly goal. Just stand there. I'm not going on the beach somewhere. Right. So differing amounts to the amount that went up yesterday. I've seen 35. I've seen 31. But whatever it is, absolutely fair play to a lot of you. Not you, Neil, because it's only up the road for you. But fair play to everyone for going. Very vocal. But how was it being there? Did it seem like a bit of old times without the bigger crowds we've had recently? What did you think of it, Sarah?
It was nice that it wasn't raining there for a change.
Yeah.
it was kind of, yeah, I think it was good effort from our fans, to be honest. It was, considering we were mostly out in the open as well. And it's not bad for noise, that ground, considering how open the away terrace is. So I think we did all right there. And I must be part of it.
Definitely did. I mean, we had 32 in Roland's bar, not Amber's, Roland's bar. And I know there were people watching at Robin Hood as well. So there's supposed to be more people watching on TV.
on the terrace as they were in the bar then.
No. But what do you think of the travelling support? I know Steve kind of points it out every week.
It was great fun on terraces. There was great banter, and it was really some quite funny things got said. So we were having a lot of fun, as well as the football.
So you're first away.
So the overall, I mean, I think Sarah actually wrapped it up almost at the start. It was a 2-1 loss, but there was moments of lots of promise, coulda, shoulda, and potential for the next few weeks. What's your overall match verdict, Neil? I mean, Steve was very, very proud of it, and he did say, as you said, that it's possibly the best we've played.
Some of the passing was really, really good. It was precise. We were working the ball beautifully up the pitch, and I think it was some of the best consistent passing that I've seen from us all season. And we did. It was just the ball just didn't fall in the final third. We didn't get that little break of luck. And if any shots, they fell to the wrong person, as I said. So unfortunately, they fell twice to Sidge, who managed to put it over the bar. Had that fallen to Will or Lewis.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about Lewis.
In the back of the net.
He's missed a couple recently, so. Sarah, what was your overall match verdict?
I think the appropriate football manager cliche to trot out at this point is there's a lot of positives to take from that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was nicer to watch than most of our games have been this season. It was prettier football, wasn't it? It was neater. It was more. I felt like it felt more kind of self-assured from the team. They really do seem to have grown in confidence, and it was really, like I said earlier, it was annoying not to come away with anything, but at the same time, even though there's not got any points on the table for it, but we have got a lot to take away from that game that we can use to build on. I had the Forest Green friend that I met up with at the game, and I got some messages after the game. That was such an undeserved win. Sorry. You were good for a draw at least. I honestly thought you would score when the free kick was given at the end. So, that's from a Forest Green fan. Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
As I was walking out the ground, a couple came up to me and said, "I think we got away with one there, mate." Bad luck. Which that was a fair comment and the mutterings from some of their fans around agreeing.
Right.
Nice of football, I think.
Yeah. We're going to finish up with yesterday with the good, the bad, and the funny. Sarah, what was good for you yesterday on that whole experience, not just on the pitch?
Considering it's mid-March, their pitch looked amazing. It was a really nice pitch to play on. I think it's part of, it makes good football happen if you've got a really good pitch. So credit to them for that.
Yeah, excellent. Neil, what was good for you?
The performance, the crack was, on the touchlines, on the sidelines was brilliant. But I think the good bit was Tim eating a meat pasty in an all-vegan ground. I think that, basically that was perfection.
You can't be naming names.
In that case, just so that he's not on his own there, I had to bring in a small bottle of cow's milk because I have various dietary restrictions, which mean that the only thing I can get at most football grounds is a cup of tea. Not Forest Green. At Forest Green, I can't get anything because one of those restrictions is grains and they only have oat milk. So I brought in a bottle of cow's milk to use. That could be the bad, but no, select something else for that. I don't know.
No worries. Well, you brought it up. Neil, what was the bad?
Oh, the bad again was dietary, and this was a collective bag. Jenny bought a bag of what she thought were crisps. Shiitake mushrooms They were dried shiitake mushrooms.
Did you go, your shiitake? Ah!
Smelt like dog turd.
Dried mushrooms stink.
Tasted even worse. And then she passed them around. Luke, Johnny had some basically universal disgust from all of us eating them on the terraces. That was possibly the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth.
I'd probably use them as a cooking ingredient, like to make stock, but I wouldn't just munch them out the bag.
But and this was the only things that were on sale in their, along with their tea and coffee, were these bags of dried shiitake mushroom. Oh,
nice. Sarah, what was bad for you?
Well, Neil's covered that one, so I'm going to have to say one thing that really kind of took the wind out of my sails was what happened with Dylan De Silva, because it's bad enough being subbed when you're a sub, but after seconds of it was a bit of a heart-sick moment. I was like, oh dear.
Yeah, as I said, Doc messaged me, hasn't had any results come back yet, so he doesn't know any extent. So fingers crossed. But what was funny about the day for you, Sarah?
I should have thought about this one before coming on. I'll tell you, I don't know if this is funny to you, but it was funny to me. They've got really good pitch side LED adverts at Forest Green, and there were literally 6 or 7 adverts for different things that all had the same formula. They were all I'm trying to remember what they are. Various things. Fossil fuels was one, gambling ad, body odour, muscle pain, headache and tiredness, whereas to give them all the red card. And they were like, after advert was coming up, and they were all like, give such and such the red card. And I'm like, football fans are simple creatures, but we could probably understand something slightly more.
Yeah. The LED behind the goals, they were really strange, because when the blue one came up, it basically chopped out players' legs. As we saw the ref standing to the side, his whole face was blurred because you just couldn't make it out because of the bloom. We're like, these adverts put on as like AI afterwards. It looks like they've been photoshopped on. So it was very, very weird. But very good. Neil, what was your funny?
The funny was you might not have seen it on the telly stream because of the angle of where the camera was, but late on in the second half, right in the corner, their right wing, Vaz, and the ended up on top of the assistant linesman right down in the corner, and where they had to extricate themselves from a mass bundle right in the corner. That always amuses me when the linesman falls over, but to have two footballers falling on top of him as well just added to the enjoyment.
Right, excellent. Rob, we are going to move on quickly to the Halifax game, but before we do, we're going to put Sarah on the spot because it wasn't a random selection, Sarah. You've been chosen because tell us what is going on the Halifax game this weekend.
Well, we have our annual dedicated Her Game 2 fixture, which is part of the club's partnership with the campaign, which, if any listeners aren't aware, it's basically it's a campaign against sexism and misogyny that women and girls face at football. It's spread to other sports as well, but obviously this is a football match, so we'll focus on the football. And we're sort of a point of contact where anyone can report any sort of abuse or sexism they encounter, either at a match or while watching a match down the pub, or anything to do with, online, social media and so on. And we kind of work with clubs to fight against that. We've been going for nearly 4 years now. And we've got partner clubs all over the world. We've got, I think we're up to 80 of the 92 Football League clubs now as partners, which is pretty good.
I can't believe there's any left who aren't doing it.
League. They can drag their feet a little bit. I'm not mentioning any names. They're not the ones you might expect. So what we've got what we can do on Saturday is, it's the point of having a dedicated fixture, is just to give the campaign as much publicity as possible. Not just to sort of put it out there, but also so that women and girls can kind of feel like we've got their backs at football. It's like we're there, we're all around the ground, you know, we're looking out for you, and we want women and girls to feel as welcome at men's football matches as men do, because it's kind of traditionally been a very male-dominated sphere. So I will be around quite early on. I'll be sort of in the fan zone, and my wonderful team. We have, I'm the ambassador, which means I kind of take the lead of sort of working with the club and the campaign. But I've got two lovely advocates working with me, and they're Emma and also Lucy, who's also Lucy Clark, the women's first team manager. She's our manager advocate. She's fantastic, you know, for the campaign. And we'll be around to kind of answer any questions people have about the campaign itself and what work we do with the club. We're going to be doing a little bit of fundraising for the women's section because they haven't been. They kind of feel a little bit forgotten this season because being out at Chipstead, people can't go to the game, so the crowds have not been great. Of course, most people will know that. And if you don't, we're telling you now that we've finally managed to get a game at the VBS for the women, which will be next Wednesday, which I'm sure you were going to mention anyway, Mike. But I just
absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we've said it before. It's not about taking away the fun and the of being at football. You can't not say anything. It's just let's make everyone feel comfortable. There's no. If someone's feeling uncomfortable, they're not going to enjoy it, and by that, the crowds will dwindle. I'm sorry to say, but they will dwindle. I'm being very mercenary here, but the more women that come to football is more money behind the bars and the counters and all the rest of it. So it's if you guys, I know Sarah said, oh, it's the sort of girls know with this, whatever. But if you guys have got any questions, Sarah, Emma, and Lucy will be delighted to answer them. Maybe not straight away, but they'll always be able to get back to you. I can always put you in touch as well. But it's not a campaign to say men aren't allowed at football. It's two. It's the very important thing. Is the her game two is for men and women. But what specifics are there going to be for the weekend? Is it going to be the lovely? I don't know what weather's going to be like. Is it going to be the lovely little frame photos again that I can get my big head into?
We've got the big Her Game 2 photo frame. We're going to try and take lots of nice pictures for social media. Again, it's about the visibility of the campaign, having the logo out there just so people know that we're there. So we're going to be doing that. Anyone who wants them, we have little flags to give to kids to wave and stuff like that because they love to join in and it's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how can everyone join in these initiatives? Is there any ideas or something that you think, if only I could get a bit more support behind me for this, is there anything that you'd love to be able to do?
Well, the club is very supportive, actually. Whenever, you know, I have an idea that I'd say I'd like to do this, they tend to be very supportive. We don't always manage to get the wheels in motion. And a lot of the time, actually, that's because people aren't interested in doing those things, which is fair enough. I think one thing that makes my job as a Her Game 2 ambassador easier than other clubs' ambassadors, but also in a sense harder, is that we don't really have a massive problem with sexism at Sutton compared to other clubs. Not saying it doesn't exist. I've seen it. I've been on the wrong end of it. There isn't a right end of it, really. I've been on the receiving end of it. I've certainly not been on the dishing out end of it. Emma and I have discussed before having things like a sort of safe space area for women fans if they're feeling intimidated, they haven't been to a match before and they've got an idea in their head that I'd love to watch football, but it's going to be just a bunch of men and it's kind of scary and it might be a bit tribal or weird. And when we talked about kind of doing a safe space for women, I did do a sort of open space, women could come in and talk, and not a single one turned up, which I was kind of not disappointed. I was, in a sense, glad because it meant that nobody felt they needed it, which was great. But I just had this nagging doubt, sort of, what if people just didn't know, or what if, you know, I thought it's too stupid. The thing about one thing that comes up again and again is I didn't say anything because it just felt like a stupid little thing. I don't know why it bothered me. It shouldn't have bothered me. 9 times out of 10, you're perfectly justified to be bothered by something that happens. It's just stuff that we don't talk about because people say, oh, it's banter, it's nothing, you're overreacting, and we kind of internalise that a bit.
Yeah, and it may also be nothing, but the fact you've managed to get it off your chest to someone may also make you think, oh, I'm not doing that churning around anymore, at least that. But I do know that there's been a couple of things you've asked the younger lot, especially with some of the stickers, and they kind of went, oh yeah, okay, all right, and they've understood how it can be seen. Yes, it's all banter, but then the education side is.
Yeah, they're a good bunch, really. The lads that we, come to see Sutton, they are a good bunch, but they don't. They've picked up stuff that they've seen online, and they've not had the experience for it to really occur to them that actually there's a reason why this could hurt people. And to be fair, there's been a couple of times where they've chanted things that are not very nice, and I've kind of had a word, and they've stopped doing it. They've changed the words, which is nice.
Yeah, it's the education of it and the realization of, oh, hang on, I get it now. But yeah, excellent. I'm very much looking forward to it.
No, it doesn't snow.
Snow.
I've heard that there is a forecast of snow. I hope that's complete rubbish, but no, I've just picked up my phone. It says 10-day forecast, Thursday 40% snow. Saturday looks like that.
I'm in the office tomorrow. Anyway,
20 degrees though.
Right, so on to the match. Sarah, Halifax, they're 6th. Steve said it's going to be a very different match. How do you see it going? Do you see any tactical adjustments, or are we going to stick to 4 central midfielders?
Yeah, I think there are going to be a few adjustments. To me, it's entirely unpredictable. Goodness knows what we'll see when we look at the lineup, because it is very different. It does need a very different approach. To be fair, because I've been busy planning the her game 2 stuff, I haven't really thought that much about the match. But at the same time, I feel like we're due one of those hard-fought wins against a good side, and I want to go for that. A hard-fought win against a good side. Let's do it.
Excellent. Give us a score line. I know you don't play the prediction league, so.
Oh, you know what? I think it's about time we had a really good win, even if it is a hard-fought win. So win by at least 2 clear goals. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yes. 3-1. Go on.
3-1. Excellent. Lovely.
It's not going to.
How do you
say it?
Say that? Come on. We said last week if Alex had his way, he'd be predicting 4-5-0 every week, and we'd be winning the Champions League, the World Cup, and everything.
Well, no, this wouldn't actually come true, would they?
Neil, how do you see it going? How do you see the not necessarily predict your lineup, and give us a prediction, which obviously, as I always say, you can change as we get to the day?
I suspect it's probably going to be a 1-1 draw, and then that will give us symmetry of goals scored, played 1, 1-1, drawn 1, and lost 1 for the last 3 games. Then 3 goals scored. Do you say 3 goals scored, 3 goals conceded?
But you can't have that for the league table because we're +1.
Yeah,
at the moment.
But if Forest Green had beaten us 2-0, then it would have been.
Yes, it would have been perfect. But we're top half, we're +1. These are important details. We're 12th, not 13th.
Yeah, but actually, I think I'm more mindful thinking towards, somebody is going to get one hell of a beating. So, to quote that famous Norwegian commentator.
That's what Jenny said. She said a tonking, not a beating, but a tonking.
So it's got to happen at some stage.
It does.
We've already had it. It's Altrincham. That's it. It's happened. No. We will have another one. You can tell it. It's building, isn't it? You can feel it building.
Yes. This is it. Well, I'm going to go with 2-0. We're going to keep a clean sheet, and we're going to score early, and then have us all spend the rest of the game panicking and worrying and hearts racing and all the rest of it. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to wrap up. I know you've actually both got lots of things to do, so I've kept you long enough.
Mostly.
We appreciate everyone's attention and feedback. Get involved in knowing me, knowing you. What question would you ask the club management and why? Follow, like, share this episode of Sutton Podcast on social media. It gives us the thumbs up and all the rest of it. We will be back after the Halifax match with Paul D is definite and possibly Neil M, but we will see. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. A big thank you today for Sarah and Neil. And thank you to the listeners. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. Bye-bye.
United!